Hello everyone, I want to show you how I used shader graph to make my coin just a little bit shinier. Let's get into it. If we take a look at this coin, it looks pretty okay. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, but alright. What I want to do is I want to make this coin look a little bit nicer. Specifically, what I would like to have is that if I look at the coin at an angle like this, that it starts to get a little lighter in color, so that it doesn't look quite as flat as it looks now, color-wise. We can do this using shader graph. Let me show you. I'm going to create a new shader graph shader. I'm going to choose shader graph, URP, and lit shader. The first thing I want to do is I want to be able to use a normal map with my shader. The normal map is actually what gives our coin the perceived texture. This eye here, as well as the bezel around the coin, is achieved actually entirely using a normal map. So in order to be able to pass a normal map to my material that derives from the shader, we need to set this up in shader graph. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a variable for my normal map texture. It's going to be a texture 2D. We'll call it normal map. Drag that out. And we're going to create a sample texture 2D node. And we're going to connect this like this. This will allow me to provide a normal map in the inspector of the material. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to connect this here to our normal property in the fragment shader and change the type here to normal. Also be sure to set the mode of the texture to normal map, and then don't forget to save the asset. Now let's see what the shader looks like when applied to the coin. Let's create a material. For the shader, I'm going to choose my newly created shader graph. I will choose the normal map, and let's apply this to the coin. Okay, gray. All right, so the next thing we got to do is we got to give this thing a color. So let's jump back into our shader graph and add a color. We're going to create a new property of the type color and connect it to our fragment shader's base color. Give it a default here, save the asset, and now here in the material inspector, we can give it a color. Okay, we basically almost kind of recreated the material we had before, except with one notable exception. You can see that there is no, or almost virtually no reflection here. Yeah, we don't have any way to change the shininess of this coin. So let's expose the smoothness and the metallic properties of the shader to the material. I'm going to create two properties, one for metallic and one for smoothness. They're both going to be floats. So let's do metallic, smoothness, drag those out, and connect them. Save the asset. Now we can increase the smoothness of our material. And it's starting to look like it did before. Yeah, we can see that the normal map is doing its thing. The light is behaving differently, where the normal map indicates that the surface essentially, or the pixels point in a different direction. But this is basically where we were at before. Yeah, nothing different. So now let's take this shader to the next level to really make this coin pop. The way we're going to do this is using a fresnel shader. So let's add the fresnel node. To be able to configure this, let's add two more properties. We're going to add a float for fresnel power and an additional color. We'll call it fresnel color. We'll pull the power out here and we'll connect it to the power of our fresnel effect. And we're going to click on the property, and in the mode, we're going to change it to slider. We're going to give it a max value of, let's say, 10, and we'll give it a default of 1 so that by default, we don't just see a white circle here, but we actually see the fresnel effect. We're going to take the color property, and we're going to actually disconnect it here from the base color. What we're going to do now is we're going to multiply the fresnel effect with the fresnel color. Let's give it a default color, yeah. The fresnel color here is basically the color of the outer part, yeah. So what we want it to be here for our coin is not yellow, yeah, we want it to be kind of like a yellow-white. And now we're going to take this color property from before that we initially had directly connected to the base color of the fragment shader, and we're going to add it to this, the result of this node here. So we're going to add an add node, feed in the color, feed in our fresnel, and now we're going to take the output of this and feed it into our base color. There's one last thing that I want to do to really make the color pop and to be picked up by our bloom post-processing effect. I want the color to be an HDR color. So we're going to change the mode to HDR, go in there and increase it just a little bit. And we're going to make it very yellow. Let's save the asset. Now, when we turn the camera here, we can see that the color of the coin starts to get a little more faded. You get this faded kind of metallic look. And this is exactly what I wanted. It looks a bit less flat. It looks a bit more dynamic, as I look at it from different angles. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.